thank you for your attendance. Do we have anyone for confirmation of the minutes on the 20th of September? Oh, that's right, yes. Good point. Do we have a second? Councillor O'Neill. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 8-0. Okay, do we have anyone on the confirmation of minutes of the 20th?
Mr. Mayor, can I just query something?
Sure.
Page 19. Councillor Guthrie having previously declared declarable conflict of interest, leaving the room, and then we've got Councillor Guthrie. I think that should have been ample. Correct.
Do you want to move with the change, do you?
Yeah, I'm happy to move, but I would also ask that be noted that it was actually Councillor Guthrie and Hancock who've had both declared conflict of interest and left the room for that particular agenda item.
So what agenda item was it?
This is
C2 request a grade discount assessment.
Page 19 or page 20?
Page 19.
well, maybe not tonight, but maybe till the end. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not accurate.
So I think just move what it should be.
Yeah, I'd like to move. I'd like to move an amendment. I'll move the minutes of the ordinary meeting on the 20th September 2023 confirmed, noting moving the amendment that Ms. Councillor Hancock and Guthrie moved at the meeting for item C2, page 19. Councillor Hancock rather than Councillor Guthrie as the second person.
Can I suggest leaving the room at 2:23 p.m. because there's two different times there and they'll distinguish which time.
And through the chair, rather than the word noting, is with the following amendments.
With the following
and only
amendments.
prepared to leave them if they are amended.
Okay, do we have a seconder for that? Councillor Ladbrook. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 8-0. Okay, so we'll just move on to the agenda if there's nothing else. The accesses and access driveway design, construction, maintenance, council policy. Councillor O'Neill.
I'll move that Council 1 adopt the revised property accesses and access driveways design, construction and maintenance council policies presented. 2, acknowledge this version replaces all previous versions of the property access and access driveways design, construction and maintenance council policy and remove any previous versions from the website and policy register. And 3, update the website and policy register with the revised policy.
Yeah, second, Councillor Mullen. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? Councillor O'Neill.
Thanks, Mayor. All I want to say is thanks to the staff and in particular the Deputy Director taking on board the comments that have been raised by councillors at the last 2 council meetings. I see that that's been now revised and the wording is clear in the policy, and I'm happy to move it and ask councillors to endorse it.
Okay, does anyone else wish to speak? I'll speak. Certainly something that we need to get right. I think as we've been implementing, operating locally and, getting feedback about our policies, make it a bit clearer. Certainly thank the Deputy Director for the work that he has done, getting the balance right for residents as well as the council. Does anyone else wish to speak? Does the Mayor wish to sum up? Going to go to the vote. All those in favour? 8-0. use of 5.2, use of magnesium in water supply reticulation, 40. Do you have a question, Councillor McMahon? I'd like to move that this lay on the table till the next meeting for the opportunity for the council that requested the report to be available to ask questions and so forth. All those in favour? 8-0. Okay, moving on. Page 48. 10.1, Roma Villa Winery Community Consultation. I'd like to move that council receive and note the report. Councillor Hancock.
I'm just wondering, through you, Mr Mayor, to CEO, why was the end date extended? We had an end date where the surveys were closed off, and then I note that it had been extended. I'm just wondering why that extension happened.
Through the chair, I'll take the question and I'll just go back and find that out. But at the time, I think it was in relation to we're processing the happy say stuff, and there had been some questions in relation to responses. There were multiple responses for one applicant, and what we're trying to do is just make sure that the time frame was appropriate. The original, what I can tell the council is the original time frame that we had was just an arbitrary line, and so essentially we moved that slightly to line up, I think, with the end of the reporting period. But as you know, subsequently what happened after that was that the fire happened very quickly, and as a result we just stopped everything at that point as soon as that incident happened, recognising that what council was trying to have a conversation with the community about was completely disrupted, and to have a further review. And my apologies for the delay on having to say back to you. We have been waiting on the back end with some commentary from the Department of Environment and Science around the health status of the site and whether there were going to be any implications in relation to the heritage status of the site. And we had inconclusive commentary coming back from them, and we're just taking some time.
So just so I can understand, the reason we extended the end date, because that happened before the fire, was because there was one person putting multiple responses, which comes with that anonymous stuff, doesn't it?
Yeah, look, and to be frank, that was your parameters in relation to the feedback. It's anonymous. We don't go dive into the detail. There can be issues in relation to that, and essentially it was just about making sure that we had the right picture. We put an arbitrary line in the sand in the first place. We just extended that arbitrary line. But obviously...
Was that to balance those out? Was it because it
not
must
really,
be a substantial amount?
Have we actually got true feedback in relation to the happy safe component? But knowing that we would need to provide council with all that information at a point in the future. So it's really just about making sure that we were truly consulting in the nature of which we went out. But obviously events over to themselves.
Councillor O'Neill.
So just because of the system that we use, because of the portal, you can see that someone put in like multiple responses. Is that what you're saying? Like
we can go right down to the detail in relation to individual data.
Yeah.
Right? But essentially what council wanted was to have a feedback. It's to have feedback. And so the way we normally do that is at the strategic level, give you that feedback, straight numbers. But looking at the data as it was, it was saying, it's okay, look, we just need to make sure that we're getting proper feedback.
But did you put some rigor around it? So let's say someone put in 40 responses to yes or no, you can see that and you reduce theirs just to one. Is that what you did?
We don't tinker with that because if we've asked for an anonymous process, it is what it is, right? But clearly we're capturing data with the aim of getting an understanding about what the feedback is from the community in relation to the matter at hand. And yes, we can see that detail, but we normally would not necessarily present that detail to you. But at the time we said, look, we just need to broaden this to make sure we're getting the feedback from the community, as well as council's intention.
So, and you haven't said whether it was to the yes or the no, but that multiple entries are included in these figures of 342 or 4424.
All your data, that high-level data, because we don't tinker with those responses, but it can be a flaw on asking for anonymous feedback, and that's the same when we put those parameters really around any survey, whether it's an internal survey or external survey.
Because in the other times we've gone out to have your say, people have had to register, they can still be anonymous, but they have to put their name and email address rather than just clicking, multiple times, which they could on this one is what people...
It was very simple.
Yeah.
Have your say from,
Councillor Hancock.
So I guess in saying that, and I guess this is a learning experience because what's happens. So it's about a learning experience on how to, if we have to do this stuff again, how we might be able to make sure that it's a clear process. But I guess for me, fully then to actually get a view, and those figures are in either the yes or no, and that's fine. But to get a view on really what the community was with the stats for this, was it on the yes vote or was it on the no vote?
in relation to your numbers, they came out higher than the yes vote. But
So it was on the yes vote where the multiple ones were put through.
That's correct. But look, what I would say is that it was a very well responded survey. You actually had a lot of interest, and that interest was reflected. But there was also some difficulties in relation to the consultation process and the fact that the property's private property, right? So it's not community infrastructure. So we're trying to have a conversation with the community about what council might do. And the challenges is because it's private property and that any should council, and council is certainly prepared to consider a potential purchase at a particular time frame. One of the biggest criticisms is everybody wanted to know everything, but when it's a private, piece of a private property, we can't know everything. We haven't entered into a negotiation process. That isn't a public process. It would always be commercially in confidence. So you were trying to get a feel for how people thought, but there was a lot of loose parameters because really we're not in a position to be able to provide all the information to the community because you didn't have it. But and that's kind of just came back in the feedback too, is to say yes or no. People made assumptions. In the absence of information, people made assumptions about their preferences, and they made that commentary on as well as in additional comments. So the learning is that it's difficult when you're consulting about long-term community infrastructure solutions for private property in the beginning. There's an inherent conflict with that. Is unless you own it, you really don't. You can't go into the normal process where council would have business cases and a degree of due diligence and rigor to find something. And that certainly came back.
I'll just move that. You want to second it? Second. Yep. Okay. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak?
Only to say, yes, please. I just want to say thank you to the CEO for this report. I know I've been S178 many months ago asking for this feedback because whilst it's been very, very sad what's happened at the Roma Villa Winery, as a council it's really important that we still get feedback and understand what our community wants and how they want to move forward with that. This gives us a basis on how to move forward on other projects in the area. So thanks for this information. It's been very valuable, and it's also been a very valuable learning curve for me as a councillor about the anonymous votes and how they can be swayed one way or another. And to me, it looks like that at the moment the community has said no, simply because they, they believe no, and they need information.
I'll speak. I certainly note the findings. We do know that there's obviously challenges if it's anonymous, and that can happen either way. I do think it's a fairly small uptake compared to the total community, so it would be good to know what the total community thought. But certainly appreciate getting the report back on have you say, but I note that it's a very small amount of people compared to the amount of residents we have. Does anyone else wish to speak? Councillor O'Neill.
Just another question, if I can.
Please go ahead.
So, through the Chair and the CEO, given that we introduced the Have You Say portal last term and we've used it a lot this term, which I think has been a good thing, and I note that I think you're right that you're going to get more people that will express a view if it is anonymous, right? Or that their name isn't attached to it when the data's presented, whether it's to us or publicly. How do we get around with if we do this with other projects going forward, and the next council will, that we get as many people as we possibly can to feel comfortable that they can put their responses in, but there's rigour around the data so it isn't corrupted that someone can vote multiple times to sway an outcome. You know, so you want to use the portal to make sure that we are getting feedback, but we want it so that the data is true and not played with, and that's evidently what you're suggesting today. Is that's what's happened. What work can happen in the background? The answer may not be today, so we can continue to have faith in the system.
Two things from the policy setting, it's still around community engagement in the framework of policy, right, is that's essentially what that platform is doing, supporting those objectives of the council, is from the implementation of that policy, you and the organisation can work together to say, this is how we'd like to go out, these are the board parameters we'd like in relation to community consultation. And of course having a good debate around, the conflicts of anonymity and participation and how that works. But essentially you have a policy setting which really saying is, if you want that policy implemented more tightly, then it's a case of just working procedurally what we need to do.
And what the system is to allow that to happen.
Yeah. The system is quite, as you can see, it's quite flexible. It'll let us put whatever constraints we like in relation to the consultation methodology. It's just a case as you might have a preferred methodology in relation to that engagement.
Thank you.
Let's go ahead.
Yeah, it's pretty dynamic sort of thing. So it's not clear code and that not taken board, failings, other misgivings, as far as the system is concerned. But I don't think we can do anything other than just make this report. That's all it is. Nothing much more to it than that. Because you couldn't make a decision. Reading the pros and cons, all the other information that's out there, the dynamics of it, you can't make a decision.
And through the chair, you're quite right in the fact that your parameters were absolutely loose because they needed to be, because you weren't in control of all the often the many things that you are when we're talking to community. If you want a comparison, the difference between the community consultation process around and there's some significant structural differences there in relation to private property and council. So,
Okay, Councillor Taylor.
I've just got a question. On the Have You Say bit, you've got 1,174 responses, but that's not what these yes/no votes add up to. What's the difference there?
just through the chair, I think some of those are just non-responses as well. But I'm happy to take that question on notice and go back to what the data said.
As in they didn't say it, as in they didn't vote. What does that mean?
Sorry, I'm just... Look, I'm happy to take that question on notice and get that back to you, because I'm just looking at that, because that looks like it's the total. But it does seem to be small discrepancies. It might be just a typo. Not happy to go back and just confirm that.
Councillor Taylor, you happy to receive that and all councillors via an email?
Oh yeah, that's fine. Just if I could just speak. I'm just a little bit. I just don't really understand when the no voters come in at 55.37, and as you said, not a lot of people, it wasn't a very big number. But when we get
the advice for council, it says in conclusion that the community's positive outlook on obtaining the winery demonstrates their commitment to preserving history, fostering tourism, enhancing Roma and the Maranoa cultural appeal. Well, I don't get that when they've said no.
Through the chair, people have said no, but they still make commentary. And some of those commentary was if council had a business case, if council had this, or if council had that, my opinion might be different. But based on as it currently stands, no.
That's right, because they didn't get the answers to their
Right.
questions,
So,
which was our fault.
So, look, to the difficulties with the consultation processes, you don't know. So the reality is there's aspects of the conversation that would have to be entered into, would need to be known about by council in a commercially in confidence arrangement, which would not be a broader community conversation, be a council conversation. But the long and the short of it is that what came across really strongly is people cared about heritage, but they had different views on the project, and certainly that's reflected in the commentary. Is people often said no, but I think there's an appetite in the community to consider broader things, but they're saying we want more information than we do. And to your comment, but you can't talk about commercially in confidence aspects of any particular purchase you may or may not take 12 months down the track, where you may or may not have something to negotiate when you don't know that stuff. And it was difficult in relation to that.
But even the fact that we didn't have a business plan for it either. There was a lot of things we didn't put out there for them to make about informed decision.
Yeah, remembering that council's normal practice in relation to business planning would be to allocate money and resources to that, and you don't own the property, so you could, but at the same point, and that is something that you may wish to do in the future, is to say, well, I think we need to know more. But whether you do or you don't, that's a matter for you today or at any future point. Thank you.
You can tweak, you can tweak anything there. I mean, it's just like into a survey. Tweak it either way, make it a completely different result. So, you know, I mean, it's just not, this just hasn't been adapted to that. So it's not even worth, you know, I mean, as I said before, we all do know that put a different question to the public and get a completely different set of results. So.
Look, and through, I think the overarching premise with all the different constraints that we have is the heritage. I think overwhelmingly people, regardless of whether they voted yes or no, said yes. But there was context to the no's, and I think the context of the no's reflects some of the constraints that we have.
Right. Does anyone else wish to speak? I'll sum up. As I said, it's a relatively small amount of the real population. I do think there were some challenges in certainly explaining it. And as the CEO said, if people go no, but if we had a business case and we had that, it might be different. But it was already decided that we weren't going to look at it in the 23-24 budget, so it was for the future, and that will be for the next council. So on that note, we'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 8-0. 14.1, material change of use warehouse self-storage, reference 2023/2078.
55, page 55, Ron.
All right, okay, I'll jump on that one. Okay, 13.1, Baringa Heritage Group Incorporated request to erect a freestanding skillion at Baringa Heritage Museum. Councillor Edwards.
I'd like to move that council as trustee for land described as lot 1 on SP 265643 granting principal consent for the Baringa Heritage Group to erect a 6 metre length by 3 metre wide by 2.2 metre height freestanding skillion on the premises subject to council standard building planning approvals.
We have a second, Councillor Guthrie. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour? 8-0. Okay. 14.1, material change of use warehouse, self-storage yard, reference 2023/20784. We have a mover. Councillor McMullen.
Mr. Mayor, I'll move that the development application for a material change of use for warehouse self-storage yard at 90 to 92 Crystal Street, Roma, lot number 88 on R8 627 be approved, subject to the listed conditions in general revised 1, 2.
We just normally leave it. This is conditions.
1 to 66.
Second.
Okay, so we have a second of Councillor O'Neill. Did you want to second it?
Yes, yeah, I do. Yeah, sorry.
So does move with
Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to...
Question?
Please go ahead.
It's just a warehouse for storage, I get that. So on number 27, why do they need a disabled car park?
Through the chair, your development applications will require a car parking. They do an assessment of the site, and it may well be just elevating the current parking configuration to take into account improved accessibility requirements that came into the Planning Act. It's probably, I think, it's 1st of July 22. So in other words, just bringing up to date, up the current car parking up to date. Around accessibility.
I would imagine that every approval would have to have something like that in it. It's,
Yeah, I was just thinking, well, it's just storage shed, so somebody's just going in and using a shed and coming out again. I don't see where we can put any parking unless it's outside the facility. Is that an option for them as well?
Through the chair, we can ask to speak to officers in relation to that. I don't know.
Oh, it was just, it's just more, I'm just curious,
I mean,
why
you're the
they
same.
need a disabled car park when it's just storage where someone just drives in, dumps their stuff and drives out again.
The challenge is that when somebody makes improvements to a site or develops a new site, we're triggered by code as it stands at the time of making the application. And there has been some increased accessibility requirements in your building in relation to the code, but obviously as well in relation to the standard. It may well be that the original development did not have any accessible parking whatsoever.
It didn't.
it's like very old site.
And the
Looks clear,
standard's been there for
Yeah.
Clear for you.
Yeah,
Yes, another one.
no, it's vacant. That's why.
And so, Councillor Taylor, did you want to know that before you make a decision?
No, I don't need it. I'm sure they'll sort it out. I was just surprised that that would be a condition
Can
on
I,
our storage.
given it's been raised and it's early in the day, can I move we lay this on the table to later in the meeting? Because if it's been raised here, I wouldn't be surprised if the applicant themselves raise it with us. So it'd be nice if we knew.
Why?
Yeah.
Okay, so all those in favour of laying it on the table till later in the meeting? Okay, well, I think that's all.
It's late. No, you've got some at the back.
Okay, page 95. Uh, 17.1, Drought Relief Initiative Program Water Access. I'd like to move that a report be provided for the next meeting of council outlining what drought initiatives programs could be offered as we enter into an El Nino summer. El Nino summer and worsening drought conditions. We have a seconder for that. Councillor Ladbrook, I'll speak to it. This has been raised by a resident that when they go to get potable water, it's gone from, I think, $43 approximately to $700 and something in our fees and charges. I think there is some information, it might have been part of something that we've done, CEO, as far as a drought rebate, or we might have been declared at the time, but I believe that there will be more of a need for people to get water off council and that we need to make it affordable. So what I'm actually asking for is just how we can look at bringing that back into place, and if it's for residents, that we can go back to having a similar fee, perhaps with made an increase we did have on water, so it's affordable, because as the resident has said, they cannot afford to get the water and they rely on that because they don't have a question. Please go ahead.
For you, that person come and saw me, and he did say it was from 45 to 700. And they live out in Dargle Road there, so it's $300. They don't have a bore on their place.
How much water do they get for that?
A tank full, and it's $300 to get there. So I know they're on a pension, so $1,000 for a load of water is ridiculous. And did they get the water for cheaper, or did they? He hadn't come back to me, so. Did they get it cheaper? But $1,000 for a load of water is just out of the question, isn't it?
Well,
Just through the chair, just to give you some history of your own decisions, you did increase your charges by 5% this year in relation to that.
He didn't want to pay more, but
your practice has been that in the 3 years you've given people significant concessions on the same water during drought. So, for argument's sake, the charge at the time was a significant quantity, but the concession was reducing it down to 95 cents for residential and under $2 for commercial. That is the kind of thing that you can easily consider when you reinstate those kind of arrangements again, because clearly we lifted those once the drought had broken, and but your practice has been that you've offered those concessions during drought to peak time, so that is something that we should consider. There's not a significant number of users in relation to that water, so it's not necessarily going to cost you a lot of money, but it certainly has been a drought initiative in the past, and as you're coming into the dry seasons, you may wish, and the report's saying, wish further support mechanisms. Because obviously water's going to be as...
So do they charge the $700?
No, it hasn't happened yet. So we'll go to Councillor McMullen.
Yes, may I just add to what everyone said, particularly what you said. Yeah, that was in the last term of council, 2019, we introduced a cheaper rate for stock. It's here in the report. We doubled, at the time was 92 cents per kilolitre. So we, on the meters, the normal house meters, so we charged them $1.84 per kilolitre. And I forget the CEOs, it's up around $14 or $15 at the standpipe now per kilolitre. But I'm guessing what you're suggesting, we just go back to introducing the drought exempt levy for the...
$45 is pretty cheap. I mean, probably it's too cheap.
Yeah,
But it doesn't need to go to 700, like $100, double.
well, yeah, true.
Especially when
But that's what that person's been quoted, the normal rate, down for roadworks and the else. There is no stock exemption in place at the moment. No, that's
That's
my
just the house.
Councillor Hancock.
Two questions. One of them is just to clarify, is this for stock water or is it for house water?
Well,
Because
well, it can be for both.
It can be for both.
We used to have that for people.
Yeah.
And now we're going into very dry times.
it's drinkable, isn't it? It's for water,
Yes.
so therefore it's potable water and they can put in their tank.
Yeah.
So my question is, when this report comes back, I'd like to know why Surat and Wallumbilla are excluded from this. Because believe me, there's people around Surat who buys water and it costs them a lot more than that. And they have to get someone from out of town to come down to deliver it to them.
Yeah, no, it's
So-
not. Well, in my motion, it's not excluded.
So I'd like to know in that report why we're excluding Surat and Wallumbilla for the same standards.
We just go back to that original resolution where it'll have the information as to why. I can't remember. What, can you?
I don't think we were selling potable water here.
Yeah.
We didn't have a meter.
Well, what I'm asking for is,
Back in 2019, there was something about it.
it was to do with the arrangements of different areas. It wasn't excluded.
It'll be the cost of it, but
Mr Mayor, that back then, they weren't selling water to anyone because all the gas companies had to cart it out of Rome. The gas card because of illness. Yeah.
but they were selling to the local people who ran out of water on their property. They absolutely were, and it was costing a lot, like in thousands.
From memory, the exclusion was a positive thing, not a negative thing. So we'll just have to go back and find that detail. Yeah.
No, it wasn't free.
So, Councillor Taylor.
I'm just asking, so we're talking about if we are drought declared, or are we talking if we decide,
Yes,
Right. yeah, not the Maranoas, yeah.
because sometimes that's a bureaucratic thing. It takes
some time.
Yes. That's
We
what
know that if you talk to people now, feeding, people losing stock, we are in the drought.
Just make sure it wasn't-
I'll just finish speaking there. So what has happened is, check with the resident, they don't need it straight away, but they will need it. And to me, the two big areas that this will benefit if we look at it in the next meeting and make a policy will be people that have got rainwater tanks that they're not getting obviously any rain, so they need to fill them up with bore water because that is a group of people, not necessarily a lot, but they're there. And the other ones that people are carting water for stock and need to access that. So that could help, but I'm not suggesting anything to do with commercial general use of water, that's the roads or construction. Does anyone else wish to speak on this item? Then we'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 8-0. 17.2, speed reduction for all vehicles on Vinia Lane Road. Councillor,
Mr Mayor, I'd like to move council, and I'm going to read it as per this, but I know the Deputy Director's got some more information now. The council, one, investigate the reduction of the Vinya Lane Roma speed limit from 100 to 80 kilometres for all vehicles, and two, keep it right.
Excuse me, Councillor McMillan. I have read this, so I know what you're saying, but just sitting here, I think I might actually put my conflict to the room.
Oh.
I think I'm just going to put it to the room. Sorry, Cal, my apologies. I'd like to declare a conflict, please. And it can't be the same because it's a different topic. So.
while we're doing that, I just might have a question, Councillor. Whilst we're doing that conflict, have you considered, could it just be on heavy vehicles?
Councillor Hancock, he'll have to leave the room if you have that discussion.
Okay.
That's,
So we can't, because you need to deal with the conflict.
yeah, I know, I realise that.
Speed reduction so I'd like to declare a conflict description on item 17.2, description of speed reduction for all vehicles on Vinya Lane Roma, declaring council as Councillor Joanne Hancock. person with interest is H5H Transport Trust. H5H Transport Trust. Owned by Graham and my husband, and owned by Graham and Joanne Hancock. Our particular interest is we own heavy vehicles. It is a declarable conflict of interest. And the action that I'm going to do is, although I have declarable conflict of interest, because this report is for all vehicles on Vinya Lane, I do not believe a reasonable person could have that perception of bias. Therefore, I will choose to remain in the meeting. However, I will respect the decision of the meeting on whether I can remain and participate in the decision.
Do we have something with some wording? Councillor Taylor.
I'd like to move that into the public interest of Councillor Hancock participates and votes on agenda item 17.2 because a reasonable person would trust that the decision is made in the public interest.
We have a seconder. Councillor McMullen. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 7-0. Okay, so the question I was asking, Councillor McMullen.
Finish moving the motion, Mr. Mayor, then I'd like to move that Council 1 investigate the reduction of the...
Of like last year's water on towns and consumption.
They need to mute their end.
Yeah,
I found
it.
Can you just do it?
For the end of financial thing that they chase every year.
okay.
Yeah. Just so
I just extracted stuff out of meter track, but or
That's
replaced
us,
it. I
Peter.
can't. It's not giving me what I want.
That is Debbie, isn't it? Yes.
Oh, Debbie.
have we?
So where will I find your?
Maybe just adjourn.
Yes.
Like routes.
Well, see, I've got this, but how do I go back a year?
People aren't hearing
You
this.
know, or
So through the chair, they're just going to talk to the relevant person now. We can mute the room.
Yeah.
They can't hear us. It's just that
We can't mute them though.
No.
No.
they have to mute themselves.
Yes.
Should actually just be able.
Right, that's a strange system.
She's ready now. She's off. She's
Oh.
muted.
Righto, keep going with the meeting.
Wait for the lady to get the computer going in there.
Okay, we'll just adjourn then.
Are you able to activate that?
Here she is, Joe. Joe.
Still recording.
Let's go ahead, Councillor
Okay,
McMullen.
Mr. I'll move that Council 1 investigate the reduction of the Vinya Lane Roma speed limit from 100 to 80 kilometres for all vehicles, 100 to 80 per hour kilometres. 2, be provided a report for an upcoming meeting. Can I speak to the motion? I'd like to, there's been a few questions asked previously.
Need a seconder first.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, we have a seconder, Councillor Guthrie.
Mr. Mayor, this report, the reason I put in 100 to 80 for all vehicles originally, from what I understand, you can't reduce some speeds to other, but I'm very confident the Deputy Director's got an alternate resolution. I'll leave it up to him to present to Council now.
So through the chair, what the deputy mayor is saying is that you actually can't restrict speed limits amongst. And certainly the conversation can have any
Also,
question there.
even if it was a bitumen road, you can't, my understanding, you can't reduce the speed limit on some vehicles and not the rest. They all have to be at the same speed limit anyway, the best of.
So through the chair, councillor, our deputy director.
Yeah.
So you finished speaking.
Yeah, let the deputy director take over.
So the deputy director, my question is, can we not do something just for heavy vehicles?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, just back off definitely to that question, just
Right.
back to the first part. I'm happy to bring the report back. I probably just more wanted to foreshadow that the standard just for set speedings doesn't allow regulatory speed on unsealed roads. It's not even you might be able to put through risk assessment. It's an absolute no for unsealed roads. So, but I think it's fine still to adopt the resolution without sort of trying to tweak it too much. I just more wanted to foreshadow that when the report comes back, I can sort of just detail out that here's what and it's not my standard, it's just the Australian standard for setting speed limits. I'll outline that, but here's some options. Your question about heavy vehicles, I'd have to investigate it a bit more. The short answer is I don't think you can. You might be able to under permit, but it becomes extremely difficult, to sort of permit individual. If it's a road, if it's a council road, or council has under the act control of the road to upgrade and do everything, we just don't have jurisdiction to fine people for speeding. So if you're ringing, if someone's ringing up to say someone's speeding down my lane, it's probably something.
Can you put a sign up there to say it's 100 k's here, or it's 80 k's, or 50 k's?
Not if it's unsealed, Councillor Edwards.
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's probably the same thing that was being said. That
Yeah, no, I
about
just
unsealed.
I just want to clarify.
Yeah.
That was all.
And through the chair, the important difference is there isn't a regulatory lever that we can pull,
Yeah.
but there might be some discretionary levers that we
Like
can
speed bumps.
that actually, well, look to essential,
Yeah.
signage.
No.
Signage that might
Signage,
contribute,
yeah,
but
which,
not regulatory signage.
yeah, to assist, let
There we
people
go.
know the
We're back on
road,
track.
We're back on.
the road condition or something,
Okay, where are we?
the condition of the road maybe.
Okay, Councillor Hancock.
So my question is, through you, Mr Mayor, to the Director, with this report, so you've given us the answer, but is it still worth going through, because there is some other suggestions that you think that we could do? Is there other suggestions that can happen that would come back in a report, or are we just going to get a report back saying this can't happen?
No, absolutely, there's options.
Okay, perfect.
There's options. It's just I'm more wanting to foreshadow that.
Yeah.
I didn't want you just to adopt this.
So-
And
Yeah.
the first line in my report says you can't.
So do you recommend I change anything, or is that enough for you just to, yeah?
Mr Chair, you said the words investigate the reduction. Noting the Director's comments, you can investigate speed reduction in Junior Lane, Roma, and remove the speed limit from ABC if you wish.
So,
I'm just happy to leave it as it is and leave it up to the Director to correct, or not correct, but to come back with the alternative.
it's the question about HVR and that. Even though it's difficult, because, I'm concerned that, as Councillor Mullen said, the question was about trucks. Even though it's difficult, is that not something we can have through permits and whatever to be able to go? The other thing is, police out there or something.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I can investigate it. The thing with an HVR is it only applies to open dimensional overpass vehicles, not vehicles that are actually fit the category. So
Once you get a road train permit, you can not do what you like, but the NHVR will say, yes, you can go down that road, with the council approved, and that's it, but then everything else is council will deal with it.
to expand on that, a standard road train will not even go through an HVR to get
No.
down that road.
No.
So we can't condition it.
It's only the application we had last week or the other week, last meeting, that's over.
So you can't talk about that because I had a conflict.
No, I'm saying the application.
Over an open dimensional vehicle.
Yeah.
So that's when we
That's
can
when you
limit
get
it.
that choice.
Through the chair, I'm just thinking, you asked the question, should you adjust it? You based on the conversation, investigate reduction of the Vineyard Lane speed limit from 100 to 80 kilometres per hour, or other methods for all.
Yeah,
So that you're just capturing the
Mr Mayor, excuse me, I just need to be excused.
Right.
I was just going to ask, and I know Councillor McMullen, why you raised it. Will you go back to the people that are interested in this before they read it in the minutes or the paper that whilst you put that in the resolution, it actually can't happen? I'm just concerned that we've got advice now that...
But that's why they're going to investigate.
No, but the advice has already been given that there is no way of reducing it from 100 to 80. You'd hate to give people false expectations that that's a way to
I'm quite
address
happy
it.
to ring them back. There's only 2 people.
Yeah.
But
Because if you change it to investigate the reduction of speed on Vineyard Lane, full stop. That way you've addressed the advice that's been given that what's up there, it just can't happen. We know that today.
The other question, Councillor McMullen, is do you think that if it's that dust seal, should the dust seal be wider? So,
I think
that's like, did you say they meet on that?
that's the last spot, but the whole lane, if a 90-year-old lady drives down there and they're worried, there's only about 3 residents, well, there's more than 3 residents, 3 owners.
So people on the road don't mind if we reduce the car speed if we have to.
No, the person that rang me asked me, can we only reduce the heavy vehicles? And I said, well, I don't think we can. So I'm pretty confident. Well, we might even be able to reduce any speed.
So it could read investigate speed reduction options on Vineyard Lane, Roma.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, well, I'm happy to change it then, yeah.
But even because if it's likely that we can't do anything, is there a big safety issue to do with that dust seal? Just
No, it's
so
not a
there's
big issue.
not a
You don't get
hand.
dust there, but just the comment was made, they're going over there flat the cat, that's fine. Well, not fine, but I mean, it's only probably the worst thing about the bitumen seal is it has happened before. People don't know they're coming. I know a bloke got hurt really bad years ago. It wasn't a bitumen seal, they watered the road, 2 vehicles coming over the hill, spraying, plowed, and he died.
That's what I'm
The
saying.
dust is a good thing at times.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So to your point, is it, and Councillor McMullen's the problem with having a dust seal, they feel more confident to put the foot down as they go. Are there signs, Cam, that are watch for oncoming vehicle, look for other vehicles? Is there something to trigger?
That's what's
I think
forward, isn't it?
I had a brief discussion with the director the other day, and there's a lot of options he can come back with, so the big, he mentioned signs and all sorts of things, so,
Right.
yeah, I'm happy to drop that speed limit out then,
So it's up there now.
yeah. Investigate speed reduction options on Vineyard Lane, Roma. And 2, we provided a report for an upcoming meeting.
So now, I'll do my absolute best to try and achieve, I'll look at every option we can. It won't be just too easy, this is too hard, this is not what it's about. I'll really get into the detail of seeing whether we can extract something. It seems silly you wouldn't be able to put a speed reduction on that dust seal because it's a sealed road, but yeah, I'll just go and run the road, get a feel for it. Conline Highway's got a perfect one where you've got the big red sign, it's huge, showing that it's narrow, so shows that the cross section of the road, a truck half off the edge, a car half off the edge, it does bring the profile up. And so it's if there is genuine concerns about speeding, it's something that we could let the police know that there is concerns, they can do some. I'll do my best. I hate saying it can't be done.
And 3, Mr Mayor, that section of road is the only unsealed section for transport entering that feedlot. That's not sealed. The rest of everywhere other way they come there sealed. It's just that section that's unsealed.
So, Councillor Guthrie, are you happy with the change? Does anyone else wish to speak? Then we'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 8-0. $17.3, single point entry for power at the Roma Campdraft Grounds, Bassett Park.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move the council be provided with a report including costings to link all the lighting towers at the campground grounds to a single point on the tower. Link all the lighting towers to a single point on the tower at the western side of the arena to the 25th of October ordinary meeting, and to authorise the chief executive officer or delegate to meet with the Roma Campdraft executive to discuss funding on this project prior to the completion of the campdraft arena fence. Prior to the construction of the campground arena fence.
So I'll have to second that. To the Roma director, would that have the overview of what we're doing with other power out there to have a look at it so it can handle as well as the camping as well?
When, from my voice thing, I don't need to
You're quite welcome to come here.
Hello, councillors.
So don't
Come back normally.
Oh, good. Thanks for
I'm
that.
happy to be back. So, sorry, Matt. So your question in relation to where the power comes in, we're currently getting advice through a local contractor and Ergon in relation to the power coming from the transformer that is on the down near the network entrance, that one. And so there will be a capacity issue for how much feed can come in on that line. We're also doing survey work for the whole of Bassett Park for all the underground services. And certainly in relation to the main transformer that is through the main entrance near directly ahead when you come to the main entrance, that transformer will get upgraded. And so there's an opportunity there where the power might be able to come from there as well.
So Councillor McMullen's motion is very clear. I'm not changing that. My question is, we're looking at spending significant money at Bassett Park, upgrading old facilities. We've got a problem with the power at the camping, whatever. Obviously, it wouldn't be good, I don't think, just to do it in singular, like looking at the overall, saying how we make capacity.
Let's go on with the meeting that we talked with so I can explain everything.
Right, okay.
You haven't read the report, obviously.
Please go ahead,
Mr. Mayor, the campdraft committee did get a quote from NRG to hook, and they were suggesting hook it to the canteen. We have, as we're all discussing now, we've got major problems with our power. The campdraft committee originally went with to this project with a view of using generator. And they're quite happy to do that. The only reason I'm pushing for a single point is we have, I think it's 6 lights anyway. There will be leads lying all around the ground. And if they can link them all up to one point and have a generator at one point in the years to come, if we get, as Deputy Director Dean said, there's plenty of activity going on about upgrading the power. Can we hook the mains power later on? Campdraft and other users, there's not many that use, about 3 or 4 times a year, more than happy to get a generator. And even if this doesn't go through, they'll use generators, but we will have leads laying all around it. Like, you're not going to have a generator for every light, so they'll have to have leads running around the ground. When NRG built these lights, erected these lights, they have allowed in the concrete foundations, they put the conduiting in there to run the wire, but they ran out of money, as I said. The campdraft actually had to put a little bit extra into it because things changed over the time, and they were quite happy. And I'm quite confident if council go and talk to them, there will be a contribution. I can't say it for sure. Their idea is they're going to use generators, but I don't believe we should have leads horses walking around and that on leads and all that.
Councillor Hincock.
Thank you. Councillor McMullen, I fully support your resolution. I'm just a bit concerned about point 2. Also, I absolutely don't have a problem with the Chief Executive Officer to go and talk with the Roma Camp Draft about options and that with funding. I'm concerned that you're saying that to discuss the funding of this project, so discuss, I'm assuming council funding this project or other alternatives, prior to the construction of the camp draft already. Well, as a councillor, I would rather, that's our decision whether we want to fund this project. No.
Well,
Yeah,
we're
in due
not
respect.
asking council to fund it.
So it's just not clear. So you're saying to discuss options of funding, because when I read that, and you're giving the Chief Executive Officer the authority to go and do that. As a council, say that happens and nothing comes forward from that, there might not be any options at the day. Well, we want it to come back to the table, so we might be able to find it in a budget somewhere, or we might be able to consider it. I just am concerned that it's not bringing it back to council to decide on if we, at any stage on if they need us to assist in this project.
Well, I haven't said anything about funding, to discuss the funding. I want the council, the staff to discuss the funding, whether they can fund it or we can fund it. We've got to fund it.
Just through the chair, potentially, like the director can respond to that. My understanding, Councillor McMullen, when you raised the motion, was that there's a timing issue. Work's actually happening on the site right now. That's in relation to this. Hence why you've got number 2. But number 1 is the reason that we put a specific date, which is very close to today, is that you're aware that preliminary works will be being done around crossings.
But I've since found out that projects had been held up because there's a little bit of an issue there. They've started before they got the go-ahead to do it.
Just add options to discuss funding options of this project prior to the construction of the campground.
My only concern then is, what I just heard is that makes it hard because they need it and they need it quickly.
But they want, it's got to just want.
So are you saying that the CEO can actually go to them and say, yes, we can fund this project?
No,
It's got to discuss the options of the funding.
Discuss it.
So will that then come back to us?
They come back and say, here's the money, bang it, you go ahead.
So through the chief, I asked the
Rodeo committee,
potentially
the contract committee can have
give
funding.
council a bit of awareness about what work that council's currently doing on the site.
Can I just follow up on this? So just get my head around. So we've got this number 2 is the Chief Executive Officer or delegate to discuss, but it comes back in the report and contained within the report that's covered on the 25th of October.
Yeah.
That's right.
And see, that's where I got confused because I was okay with the number 2 that was in here, but when it got changed up there, it actually doesn't say about the report, it actually says about prior to the construction of the camp draft. And so
What I was trying to do there was, I should have done it differently.
Yes.
The 25th is not as important now because the project hasn't started.
So through the chair, the takers maybe suggested that you be further qualified and specify the date at the end there. Does that make more sense to the chamber?
yeah, it makes me feel comfortable that those discussions are going to come back there, not it just felt it wasn't all together and we were going to come back in pieces.
That was the second for that motion. So really,
Yeah.
I'm happy to
Nice and you seconded it.
yeah, I second.
I wrote it in. So I'm happy with that, yeah, to change, yeah.
Okay, I'll speak to it. Councillor McMullen, I don't think it's respectful saying that you obviously haven't read the report. I was talking about something that would be beneficial because the long term of the project could be that we could hook it up to mains power, and that is a separate thing. So I understand that you're connecting the towers together to stop all the leads and have a single point and you can run it down. I understand that. We're spending $2 million on Bassett Park this year. We have aging underground infrastructure, and it should be big enough to be able to handle the power consumption of the grounds in the future, because I'm sure if you said you don't need a generator in the future, it would be very low cost for us to connect. I'd be happy with that. That's what I was talking about. The Roma director was obviously putting in a major upgrade to a switchboard. We're doing things out there. We've also had Eastern in the country saying the power is not up to standard, so it's good to think about all of the power usage, and that's what I was asking about the director. So I certainly understand what you want to do with connecting up the towers so you can have a single link, but the point I was saying was if we can think ahead and be strategic, whether it's straight away or not, we can take into consideration the power use of the camp draft as well as all the other user groups out there.
Mr Mayor, I agree, but everything you've said about the other power is irrelevant to this agenda item. We all know we've got $6 million to find to do it. That's irrelevant to this.
No, this is to do with the power. What I'm saying is we've upgraded one switch. We're doing some items out there. We'll know the power consumption that the generator will need. We could consider that at the same time. Otherwise, we could do some upgrades out there and not consider the cam draft's power. That's all I was saying about that. Okay, does anyone else wish to speak?
We haven't actually gone to the director to give that update.
Well, I think, so just in relation to the camp draft arena, so they got a grant for funding, and part of that is to replace the camp draft arena fence. As part of, and bearing in mind, whilst we talk about the camp draft committee, camp draft arena, fundamentally, council owns the whole facility, and so in fairness, investment into the infrastructure and that, because the council has provided that allocation, is that I'm more than happy to talk to arena and other users there around what's best use for investment there in relation to power supply. So the new light towers have been installed, so they're up and running, and we concur with the Deputy Mayor about the ability to they ran extra conduit to make it to be connected. The arena fence has been removed, and there is a delay in relation to some.
It's not to be made public.
There is a delay in relation to working with the surveyor about the drainage, where we wanted to
Make a
drain.
yeah.
Yeah, we can do it.
New fence, new material will be brought in to bring it up to a standard that, from my point of view and talking to the camp draft arenas, that we would like to be able to have it as a standard that we could post the national titles in the future, and so the lighting and the arena material and then the fencing it would then be up to a standard that you could hold a national event. So that's quite exciting. So that's all in play. In relation to then about the connectivity around the power and the install of the fence, I'm not sure necessarily, Deputy Mayor, that I have to resolve the connecting all of the power poles before the fence goes in, because it's all the infrastructure is around that.
That was the reason I raised it, because there's a section of it has, even now they're going to have trouble in the backyards, not trouble, but, and so the idea was if it goes ahead, get it in the ground before the fence goes. There's two lights in the backyards, you can't run a digger through there because you'd have to pull the yards down. So we just sort of thought about getting it before the fence goes back up, and probably even before you do the foundation. The foundation, that was the only reason there. Otherwise, they've got to go back and trenching under the yard is going to be enough issue now.
Okay. Anything else, the director? Okay. So, does anyone else wish to speak to this motion or against it? Does the mover wish to sum up?
Mr. Mayor, I just think camp draft raised all that money through, or most of that money through for gambling funds and things like that, and just to get the towers hooked up would be not only a major safety, save or make it better for safety wise, but one day, as you said, Mr. we all know the power's got to be upgraded, but that whatever wiring goes in there will be up to the top standard, and it'll be just a matter of linking up to mains power. But as I said, the quote was to hook it to mains power at And I said, well, there's nobody even trying to do that because the canteen won't run properly now without adding lights to it as well.
Okay, we'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 8-0. Okay. Do we have the information on the, do we have the officer of planning?
It's been circulated.
Oh, yeah. So everyone's right then?
Yeah, it is just,
Okay, well, we might go back to that one.
so, and through the chair, it was as discussed. It was, it's based on the changes of the legislation.
Page 59. The MC.
Fourteen point one, material change of use warehouse, self-storage yard, reference 2023/20784. Now, did we get any?
I moved it, the councillor O'Neill seconded it.
Has anyone spoken to it?
No.
Does anyone?
I'd just like to say, Mr Mayor, it's great to see a local investor, the local people have invested in this block and going to do something with it and turn it into something productive and it'll look a lot better, a lot more aesthetically better.
Okay, does someone else wish to speak?
Oh yeah, I'll speak for it too. Just to agree with Councillor McMullen, it's a great idea. Yes, for me, that block is probably suited for this. When we read everything, and yeah, it's a bit of economic development in the town, and also maybe it'll make that block a bit better, spruce it up a bit. So, yeah, very happy to support it.
Does anyone else wish to speak? I'll speak. We know that this site had different uses, which means you need to be careful what you put there. So I certainly will be supporting this. I think it's a good use and hopefully it will coexist with the residents of that area. Does anyone else wish to speak? Does the mood wish to sum up?
No thanks.
We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 8-0. Anything else?
Wide open.
L1, application through Regional Arts Development Fund, RADF, program 23-24. We have a move. Councillor Henry.
I move that Council endorse the RIDF Committee's grant assessment recommendations for the application received 3rd of October 2023.
We have a second, Councillor Taylor. Any opposition? Does anyone speak?
Yes, please. I just want to say that it's been really great to see some uptake of our RIDF funding through the region, and it seems to be eventually it's got legs that it's open all year round, and people are getting on board with that and putting in applications, which is why individual ones will come to council instead of like a whole list. So yeah, just wanted to congratulate the officer for pushing this through and working with the community. It looks like a great. Another great workshop for our region.
Okay. Does anyone else wish to speak? So we're going to go to the vote. All those in favour? 8-0. L2, Roma Aero Club Hangar Site Preparation.
Declaration of interest, item L2, description request from Roma Aero Club Hangar Space, declaring Councillor Mark Edwards. Party with the interest myself. Sorry, just myself. Particulars of interest, the Roma Aero Club's request. Was requested hangar space at the Roma Airport. Council has a personal interest in the matter, being a member of the Roma Aero Club, not on the executive. type of conflict, declarable conflict of interest action. Although I have declarable conflict of interest, I do not believe a reasonable person would have a perception of bias. Therefore, I would choose to remain in the meeting. However, I will respect the decision of the meeting on whether I can remain and participate in the decision.
Okay, do we have anyone voting? Please go ahead, Councillor Guthrie.
I'd like to move that it is in the public interest that Councillor Edwards participates and votes on agenda item 4.2 because a reasonable person would trust that the decision is made in the public interest.
We have a seconder. Councillor Ladbrokes. Any option, any positions there which to speak? We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour? All those against? Okay, that's 6-1. No, 6-1.
Oh, sorry.
You can't vote. So,
Councillor
Edwards can't vote.
okay, so we have someone to move on this.
I have a question.
Please go ahead.
Just with the officer's recommendation, point 2, reallocate the 70. So point 1, where we're approving a further release of $75,000 from the airport reserves, and number 2, point 2, reallocate $75,000 capital from project design for a reconstruction of GA pavement to be considered as part of the Q1 budget review. So where are we reallocating it to the airport reserves? Is that what we're doing? We're going to take it out of the airport reserves, and then in Q1 budget, you're suggesting we put it back into airport reserves.
So essentially, you're adjusting in the review.
Yes, through the chair, that's correct. I think it sounds a little bit confusing. So essentially, we only need an extra $75,000, and that would be through, as you suggested, savings on one, and then reallocating that money back in from.
And so through the chair, given the fact that the Q1 budget review will be to the next meeting, we certainly had those early discussions around adjusting the capital schedule, and that'll come to the next meeting. But giving you a heads up is that this project needs more money. We can take that one project and move it to another. It's also giving council the opportunity to ask questions early ahead of it.
So we have the $75,000 in airport reserves right now to cover it.
Yes, we do. And just to clarify, the $300,000 that was allocated for the general aviation apron redesign, I have awarded the quote for that. That's coming up significantly cheaper, so we'll be left with about $212,000 out of that $300,000. That's not including taking the 75. Now, once we take the 75 out, we're left with about $136,000, which can be pushed back for the construction of the coming financial years.
Okay, who was first? Councillor O'Neill or Taylor?
Thank you.
No, your hand is up.
I've got one of my questions was how much do we have in reserves? Because we've always asked that if you're going to take it out of reserves, I'd like to see what's left or what we've got to work with. And what was your answer to that?
Oh, that was what's left on that capital project. The 300,000 capital
Yeah, but
project,
I'm
not the
looking at
reserves.
airport reserves. You're
Yeah.
taking out airport reserves.
Yeah.
What have you got in airport reserves?
Through the chair, certainly we can get that information for you. My understanding is somewhere around a couple of $100.
But we have always asked that if you're going to take it out of a reserve, that we find out what was in the reserve in the report, which hasn't happened. That was my first thing. My other thing is, how come we've gone so far over the 50,000 and now they're 75? That's a big difference.
Through the chair, I do agree. That is significant. I'm not too sure how it was originally costed. It was costed back in 2021. I would assume it's been costed incorrectly. And we just haven't double checked it until we've actually scoped the project after giving all the development approvals.
That's right.
Yeah, so my question's similar around just the allocation. Was it in support of the majority council did? There's a dividend policy now which doesn't have reserves for individual business units of council. It's one reserve. So I was surprised to see that we're pulling money from airport reserves because that doesn't exist based on that policy. But then it got me thinking, why are we actually doing this in the first place? If the budget has come under on that capital project, this is a capital project in itself. Why aren't we just drawing from that immediately rather than clunkiness moving money on paper this week to then address it in a fortnight or quarterly? That it didn't add up to me. So why isn't just a resolution to reallocate 75,000 from that now?
Look, basically, what through the chair, what we want to do as council to consider the fact that the project has actually gone over budget, and indeed the decision needs to be made very quickly in relation to that. While the work has now started, the decision needs to be made quickly. And it was giving you a heads up. You're quite right. Is it? We can sort it out from the quarter one budget review.
We don't even need to wait for that. You can do it today by allocating that 75.
Need to take it out of reserves to do that.
Well, you just
We've
move
got an
it.
underrunning one and an overrunning another. We can adjust that either today or the next meeting.
But it's a paper transaction. It doesn't
Yeah.
make sense. If you're under in the allocation
Yeah.
from the reconstruction of the GA payment, pull it from there now. Would be my suggestion, rather than having a paper trail through reserves. But I'd like to understand why we're still calling it airport reserve. And then further, with the GA pavement project, given that that's where it pulled money from, that's not. We do have a bucket of funds somewhere to address the broader pavement issues, and I'm thinking outside. This RFDS, MI helicopter. It's not MI helicopter still, is it?
No.
Yeah. There have been concerns raised, and we've discussed it previously. Have we got money actually doing stuff on the ground to fix those concerns?
Yes, and those patch repairs have been completed in the last month or so.
Oh, they're done?
Yes.
All right,
Yeah.
okay.
So through the chair, you're quite right, councillor. You don't have to do the whole paper trail. It's just that from a timing perspective, the decision would normally be made at the quarter one review to be up and down. But we also felt it was really important that we tell you as quickly as possible, given there was some recent inquiry around the project. It's going to cost you more than what you originally resolved, and bringing that to your attention. So yes, one probably general is you can just do two today, and we can consider it as part of the quarter one review. We have started to do those machinations for the report, because as you are aware, that report is pre-prepared, or you can just endorse the further amount today without having a quarter one review. We'll just adjust the area.
And we just know where we're pulling it from. If you're telling us that we've come under budget, which is, music to councillors' ears, then use that money to achieve the project.
Can I ask a question? When we did this, did we go out to the stakeholders or users at the airport about it's obviously being a sign that we're contributing?
And just through the chair, Daniel, you know the answer to this, I'll let you speak further, but essentially the reason the development application of the Aero Club was actually a trigger for us to do this work. This work is in relation to the preparation of land by us so that development can happen. So no, it's not a community consultation process, because it was a development trigger in relation to land that we own. It's a safety consideration to be able to support that DA process. So hence, there's no consultation process. But you are right in the fact that you contributed to a development, enabling a development. The asset's yours, the money's yours, it's in capital works, but it is enabling that development. So there wasn't a community consultation process. As the asset owner, we're getting our site prepared so that we can enable that development. That makes sense.
I don't mean community consultation, I mean stakeholder consultation. Yeah. Stakeholders, you probably weren't there at the time, because we're going on for a fair while. But my question was, and I'm pretty sure that it was also in line with the master plan as well. I think we checked it at the time.
That's right. And remembering that the development application process was triggered to the MCU process. so that all the other uses around the site have the potential of putting into whether that development should happen in this time. And our understanding is all those processes went ahead as what they wanted. But there wasn't any separate community had to say in relation
No, I don't mean that. I mean stakeholders. Out of here. Not community consultation.
But evidently that didn't happen because of what you're alluding to, is we've received correspondence from a stakeholder that suggests otherwise, that there hasn't been that.
That's why I'm just asking the manager the question. Do you know of any consultation that was done?
Mr. Mayor, not from 2021, I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I'm not too sure.
So you've got no records from what happened?
No, I don't think there was a advisory committee at the time, was there?
No,
21, there wasn't.
No.
No. Yeah, okay. No, then I'm not sure. So.
And Chair, remembering that the contribution itself in relation to the project actually came from the chamber, so the chamber might have some understanding in relation to that Queen's officers.
Yeah, no, I certainly know that there was some master planning, and I think it was in line with the master planning. But yeah, but as far as stakeholder consultation, maybe there's something we can learn from.
Can we get the approved DA circulated to councillors again, because that would help us understand if there were any submissions. I can't remember if there were, and it'd be nice if we can ask, because I was asked, and I imagine you and you have been asked as well, where if we put up a sign, which we would have had to of with a material change of use, where was it? Now that'll be a planning question, I suspect, but where did we put the sign? Was it close inside, or was it out on the fence line of the airport?
Should be on the block.
I accept that,
Yeah.
because I don't know that.
No, really.
Unless you do.
No.
Can we find that out as well?
Well,
Like,
I
That's a question,
yeah.
I'm not sure.
What I was saying, Mr. Mayor,
That's how there was a material change of use. What was it changed to? What was the designation before that?
I didn't say that. The CEO said MCU.
Just so through
Oh, no,
I'll,
it was-
if an MCU
Material change of use.
I'll send you a
Yeah.
second.
I said DA on it.
No, you said material change
Yeah.
of use.
when you said about material change.
But I just want to understand what's the material change of use?
Anyway, well, why don't we just get all that information?
That's exactly
It's
right.
morning tea time, so I think we'll break. We're actually over time, so we'll just adjourn.
I'll give the information about the married for material change. No MCU and
There's no MCU needed.
exemption.
Well, I would like to move that council reallocate $75,000 from capital from project design and reconstruction of GA pavement, the completion of the site and enable this area to be ready, and two, urgently consult with stakeholders at Roma Airport about plans for the future to do with the master plan done for the airport and receive feedback.
What's the last one?
Through the chair, about 10 years.
So do we have a second for that?
I was going to ask you a question, Mr. Mayor.
Please go.
We're going to move to go ahead with the project at this point, but then do consultation on the rest of the master plan.
Well, we'll just urgently find out in case someone says instead of doing it there, could we do it there? I don't know whether we've spent any money, but I'm not saying to change it. I'm saying we should hear from everyone in case something pops up that makes sense. Because there was a master plan done and I thought everyone was consulted at the time with the master plan.
Through the chair, what I'm hearing
There's
is
not
that
that.
we're no longer, we're talking about the premise of the actual project itself from 2021. Is there a genuine concern around the site location we've got for the project?
No, I don't. It might be enough because
Is that the feedback from the consultation process you want? Is there a danger that what the reality is we may pick the site back to ready to go to do work on site that may have a better alternative? Is that the feedback?
Well, there may be nothing that can be done. And we don't normally do things the next day. It might be, it doesn't take long to manage it, to talk to stakeholders and find out the issues.
Have we had anyone raise the current location is of concern?
Not that I'm aware of. You mean for the shed, or do you mean just parking?
No, for the new hangar. So no one has raised concerns with.
Well, we did receive the letter.
Well, that was more about not concerned broadly about the expenditure that is being. That was my reading of that correspondence. Is that everyone? My question is: has anyone raised any concerns about the location?
No, but anyway, just like it's never too late just to.
I'm not saying not do. I just wanted to know if we're coming from a place that people are already raising concerns.
And through the chair, because that's the resolution now stands to just as okay, that consultation with stakeholders will be that master plan, not necessarily that project itself. And as long as everybody understands that and we're clear, we're happy to.
Just the word urgently, like it sounds to me, if you put urgently there, it sounds as if there's something's the problem. You know, like if you're going to talk about the master plan, I think gently, maybe more subtly, just consult the stakeholders. Like urgently, I don't know, just.
It's just annoying if we do something and find out afterwards that we have a solution to do it. But you can see, to me, the intent is that's what it's first, is get on with it. Just to double check.
Well, flip it. So number one is consult with stakeholders around the airport about plans for the future. That will have to happen before the reallocation of the 75,000.
Well,
and as you say, there's not that many. I mean, it's an afternoon's work, isn't it, to pick up the phone and talk to the stakeholder.
Mr. Mayor, did I hear through you to the manager? Has this project started?
Through the chair, yes, we've begun the earthworks. We haven't done any sealing yet, just the earthworks for the pad.
So through the communication site for building certification process.
I don't think it's ever been where it is.
So if the concerns are just around that everyone knows what's happening, that's quite easy for us.
If we're going to hold it up, if we're going to do further investigations, so if we don't approve the money today, when would it come back to us?
No, I'm saying
just approve it.
But if you want to do it if you want it in the order in which that happens first, change 1 to 2. And so the consultation will happen, and that, I don't know, between that, through you, I mean, that happened between now and Friday, couldn't it? Okay. I don't know, workloads of people, but I mean, it's not a month-long process to consult with the stakeholders.
Is it update instead of consult? So that they update them about the project so that everyone's on the same day instead of consulting. So we're relocating them or updating them.
Yeah, I think updates.
I'd just like to know if it's on, is it on schedule or is it behind schedule?
Well, it's behind. It's behind.
Way behind. Yeah, so we don't really, I know we're not trying to hold it up, but if it's behind already, it might, if the members read that, they might think, we're on a timeline here. We need to get this thing going. I'm just thinking that might throw them into a spin. I don't know.
Well, if we go with update stakeholders, that's just updating.
Much better. And through the chair, if that feedback was overwhelmingly about the site was on the site, that would be a major flag to council because we have a project on foot.
Councillor Martin.
Mr. Mayor, can I suggest you have a look at the map that we've just received, just on the computer? But what I'm getting at, earthworks has started, I believe. It's over there in the paddock. I would have thought, I might be wrong, if anyone had any objections, we might have heard already, or any concerns, I shouldn't say objection. It's not like it's in amongst anything else, it's out on the edge of the...
Yeah.
But I mean, they've obviously probably been working there a couple of weeks, I don't know how long they've been there, so the other users or the stakeholders would know about it.
During the fly-ins, that area was consistently used for parking, but it was always grass, of course. It was always grass, but now it's what do you call it? Grass?
Yeah, gravel.
Grass, yeah, gravel. Yeah, so it's where all the planes are anyway.
Yeah.
So,
How many, through the chair to the manager, how many stakeholders are we talking? How many stakeholders are on that footprint?
Through the chair, on no more than 10.
Yeah.
No more than 10.
So we're talking about half a day's, phone calls to ensure everyone's happy before it progresses. I mean, the works could continue on Monday, really.
The big intent, Councillor Edwards, is this actually says go ahead.
sure.
So it's just updating, so council's not running on top of people without giving up to it.
No, that's fine, and the reason I mentioned something was this possibility that everyone's going to push back because of what's happened, so another pushback.
I think with just a question to the manager, how long would you take to touch base and give them an update?
Mr. Mayor, before the end of the week, really. It won't take long.
And is that holding up construction?
No. So the Aero Club are now waiting to begin their foundation. So it's dependent on when the Aero Club can get there.
Yeah. So basically, by the end of the week, it can be done.
Yes.
Okay, well, I'm happy to flip that around. As it is, I'll move that one, update stakeholders at Roma Airport about plans for the future regarding the master plan for Roma with any feedback we provided to council. Two, reallocate 75,000 capital from project design for reconstruction of GA pavement for the completion of the site pad to enable the lease area to be ready.
And through the chair, you said the master plan for Roma. Just next to the master plan for Roma Airport.
Sorry, the master plan for Roma Airport with any feedback provided to council. Okay, do we have a second for that, or is there a seconder? Councillor Ladbrook. I'll speak to this. Certainly, council's made the commitment to work with Roma Aero Club. I'd like to see more GA activity at the airport. I think it would be a big draw for Roma. I'd actually like to see that we have Amy there in the future and just be a regional centre like we are in so many things. So I'm certainly supporting this, but I do not think it is a problem to update everyone, especially as that's the feedback a little bit in that regard. So I think this is very positive. And I'll be supporting the motion. Does anyone else wish to speak? Okay, we'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 8-0. L3, medical bursary panel councillor representation. Do we have a move, Councillor Lafferty?
I'd like to move that council nominate the mayor and deputy mayor as council's representatives on the medical bursary panel. And two, acknowledge that the council economic development manager will provide optional representation, operational representation.
We have a seconder. Councillor Guthrie. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak to the motion?
Got a question.
Please go ahead.
Who are the other members?
Through the chair, we are inviting a range of stakeholders with the intention to have that committee with that 10 people. So we are inviting key people from the hospital itself, the CEO and the director of relevant faculty, which is my understanding multidisciplinary faculty now, three general practitioners, and a couple of counsellors, and just looking at, potentially it would be nice to have a broader community and stakeholder representation. So we are writing to some allied health organisations such as Eva's Place, to see if they want to broaden that representation, just to get a more balanced view about who should get access to this.
Councillor Hancock.
Just a question. So when you say the Economic Development Manager will provide operational representation, is that just representation, or are we taking the minutes? Are we actually providing? Are we doing that?
Look, yes, the intention would be that it's our bursary and we're driving it forward, and that we need someone to be there to support councillors as well as the panel in relation to administrative matters, as well as taking actions and getting back through the process. We could still have further administrative support. It was just really saying, if you've got the mayor and the deputy mayor, if council wanted me to sit on that committee, it could, but there's some real advantages to having your economic development manager, given that they're driving that.
The reason I ask that is simply about how do we get, some outcomes of how's it going. How do we as councillors get to hear how it's going and what? So the reason I ask that is perhaps we're taking minutes to think those minutes can be circulated to councillors. Whether the mayor and deputy mayor bring back, gives updates or something, but it would be nice if the councillors know how that's going.
Yes, it would be a formal agenda, as we understand it, obviously not too for the committee members. Yes, minutes would be taken. Yes, they would be circulated to council. That first meeting should sort out in terms of reference, tweaking the program itself, timelines to promotion, and those housekeeping and administrative issues, as well as some of the technical issues around the bursary itself. So yes, I think those things do need to be sorted out, but it's essentially recognising that council's investment, and that council wants to make sure that they sit in that space along with the suitable qualified panel.
Yes,
Is the intention that this will operate similar to, RFDS, Australia Day panels, community RADS, that the committee will form a recommendation and then that recommendation will come to council for formal sign-off?
It's a good question to ask. It's, and maybe this report sort of raises that, is to say exactly how will this committee operate. Essentially, you've got a series of bursaries that have essentially a nomination process, an assessment process, and a recommendation process. That recommendation process could come to council. It's just how much do you want to be involved as a council?
That'd be in line with community expectations, as it's how the other assessment panels are run.
Yeah.
Across the suite.
Assessment.
Oh, that has to be done by
but
people.
The recommendation coming from the committee, I can understand that. We can certainly put that into the terms of reference, draft terms of reference.
Okay, so no other questions? Speak to it. I think this is very important. I think if communities don't get and try and solve their own medical shortages and livability issues, then it's not going to happen, because every community in Australia's got the same challenges. So this is a starting point. I think the biggest challenge will be asking that, especially privately employed medical professionals, could they give their time up? So I think we need to make it very easy, very streamlined, and they certainly really are the big driver of it, because not only is this the first component, but obviously there's mentoring that generally happens just with the involvement of medical professionals. And we need to make this very easy process for hopefully they're going to give up their valuable time to be involved. So yes, I'll certainly be supporting this, and hopefully we can get some great wins on the ground. Does Councillor Ladbrokes?
Yeah, I'd just like to say, I just think it's important for our region, and we've got to start somewhere, trying to get medical people and doctors out this way. So I think it's a really good start.
Okay, does anyone else wish to speak?
Just support what you both said, and yeah, look forward to starting. That's a great initiative.
Okay, then on that note, no one else wishing to speak, we'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 8-0. L4. L4, page 13. L4, Noongar Community Telecommunications and CCTV. I would like to move that Council endorse up to $2,000 being the cost of an on-site review in relation to potential for a booster for 4G communications at the Noongar Community Hall to support enhanced safety infrastructure, and 2, divert an existing mobile CCTV if communications are available to the site for a period of 3 months or until a permanent CCTV solution has been installed to provide immediate coverage. Request further report in relation to outcomes of a review or other aspects of damage. And I'll put in there damage including keys, repairs and assistance required to restore the site after criminal activity that has occurred. Okay, we've got a second at Councillor Ladbrokes. Councillor Hancock, have you got a question?
I have quite a few questions, Mr Mayor. I don't have problems with the report. I'll just get some questions. Number one, in point 2, I don't think you can say to the site for a period of 3 months or until a permanent CCTV. It's either one or the other, because staff won't know what to do there. Is it 3 months or is it until a period of, until the CCTV coming on?
Well, we could just say that, but the idea is 3 months, we could get something in place, but if it's
At least 3 months.
Yeah,
Right.
at least,
Okay.
because otherwise the staff won't know what to do. My other question is, endorse up to $2,000 just for a review. We're going to spend
No,
$2,000 on
it's
just a
actually-
review.
It's just the wording that was done. It's actually put the booster.
Look, just through the chair, probably the qualification on that is that we actually don't know whether there's 4G telecommunications in the area, so hence the wording review. But a council may wish to talk to the manager of ICT to say, is this the only option available to council? And certainly when you put the report up, Mr Mayor, we were trying to resolve the issue, and the wording reflects what you think should be done to resolve the issue, but the manager of ICT could talk to you. Potentially you could spend that same money and provide a solution. It's just we're not the technical experts to do that for you. If you wish, and you might want to adjust that, not spend the money on the review, but actually spend the money on the solution.
Yes.
And look, Mr Mayor, since you've written this report, and obviously it's in the public arena, the manager and I had a conversation, so there might be a $2,000 solution that could be installed on site without actually needing a mobile CCTV. I'm more than happy to get the manager of ICT to talk about that, and you might want to redraft that based on that.
Well, I guess, I mean, I'd like to hear that, but Mr Mayor, since CEO said you wrote this report, where did you get the $2,000 from? How did you do the costing on
That's
that?
just an estimate generally that you can get a booster put onto the roof of the hall to do it. We do know there's communications there. The residents that live there know that there is one bar and that's what they normally need. So, and
So through the chair, the $2,000 came from when we were visiting in June and looking at the digital connectivity. Council has actually spent roughly $1,500 on this.
Oh, you put the $2,000 in it for.
Well,
Yeah.
when the mayor was saying like in June,
Yeah.
you know, so that was where that figure had come from, and we just increased it a bit to account for.
So I have an issue with spending $2,000 on a review. So can we speak to the manager of?
You just change it to subject to further investigations, endorse up to $2,000 for the installation of a booster for 4G communications of the
Where are we getting the $2,000?
Right, that's what I was going to ask. That where's it coming from?
Through the chair, I think I do have a piece of that, sorry, one is from the end of the budget.
any other questions?
Yeah, just for insurance. Just insurance was my last question about, wouldn't we have insurance on that? Wouldn't insurance be covering some of that damage for the break-ins?
Could be, but they've had 2 events and they've lost multiple things just from the community's point of view as well. So it was just really getting a report around what's the end result of this. Is it covered under insurance? Is it not?
And through the chair, it would be funded around venue facilities operations. It's reports and community centre.
I'll get going with the meeting again. We're right to go.
Yeah, it's recording.
Okay. So, well, if it's not really a comment, we probably need to do it in the debate. It's just questions. But for the manager of IT, yeah, so when you hear about this and we need 4G, what are the options that you've got to be able to do that?
For the site there, the reason we really need the 4G down there is if we're putting a CCTV solution in, and one is to help us monitor the unit, and then also we need to recover footage from the unit as well. If the police come to us and with the request for footage, so to be able to do that remotely. I guess we have 2 options there. One, we'd have to double check this to see what the current coverage is down there. So if it's fringe, like on the border, and we could use an external antenna to boost the existing signal and do a repeater inside that facility, that'd be enough probably to get us to have that. I just need a little bit of connectivity there. If it's well outside of that coverage area with Telstra, yeah, we'd have to look at probably alternative ways of ensuring we've got a. And really, it's not so much the 4G for the voice, it's the data. So I need some type of data connection for that site. So the only other alternative to get data, say, permanently there, would be something like a Starlink type solution on that site to get us permanent data to be able to provide council-managed CCTV solution for that site.
Yeah, they do have fringe coverage there.
Yep.
Sometimes text will work, most of the time they don't.
Okay.
But obviously getting up on the roof, putting a booster, like a bigger aerial, yeah, they do have it. The other reason for the 4G and phone communications is they've had problems, getting communication with OOO and so forth. So if we did it, it would only be a very small area, but if we did it, then people would know they could actually make a call there.
Yep.
And that's the other benefit on top of Starlink. It would be great for data Starlink.
Well, I guess it'd be the one-off cost to get the 4G booster there. Yeah. So if as you're saying, if there is fringe connection there, obviously the idea is that you put a stronger antenna and that reboosts that signal to the lower powered mobile hand devices there. There's no ongoing costs with that. With the Starlink, obviously there's the initial hardware and the ongoing around $140 a month. So realistically, for the sake of just communicating to, say, a CCTV or providing 4G mobile phone coverage, that would probably be probably a better option if we could get the 4G boosted there.
And money-wise, is 2,000 enough, or does it need to be?
I would say we probably just need to define what area we want to cover. So if we're going to cover the entire hall, or just we're having just a section of that hall area there, and which would also flow out to wherever we want to put the camera solution.
I would say that 2,000 would probably be right for the actual hardware itself. But there's probably travel cost component there for say local suppliers to go down and do the installation of the antenna and travel for the day.
So what would you put in there to have a higher level figure just to cover it?
I would say that again. So around, yeah, just for the travel and to install, that'll be the one-off for the actual 4G component of it.
Then get it up high, so get a signal. Please go ahead.
What you were talking about, what, radius do you think? Right, I'm not going to hold you to it, but would be just, what I'm getting at, it sounded like one of them would only be in the hall. Is that correct?
Yeah, look, I guess it's to do with like the walls and whatnot.
Yeah.
I would say if you had an open space area, generally those boosters may be around like a 10-metre type radius. I know recently we've had when we installed one that the in-June visitor information, we end up having to, you put it in and you put like a repeater so far off those units, but there is still some limitations around that.
My question was going to be, I know you won't answer, I'm not expecting the answer now, but I'm going to say it's $10 for this one. How much more to go? So at least if they're outside the tennis courts, I'm not saying down the road, but otherwise you might have everyone standing at the door.
Sure.
But if it was extra amount of dollars, we should get a report back with the costs.
Definitely.
Both ways.
We end up having to do that it'll be a very similar pricing to the Visitor Information Centre because we had both the library and the Visitor Information Centre for that coverage, so it'd be very similar pricing to what we had at that site. So, so it should be easy enough to get a report back to say this.
That's just my thought. I don't know anyone else thinks, but yeah.
So how much was that?
I'm going off. I think that worked out around that $1,800 to $2,000 per unit, and then per additional satellite unit off fit was around that same price. For wanting that larger coverage, I'd say 4,000.
4,000.
Yeah.
Councillor O'Neill. Ruben, this booster that we're talking about, is that the same booster that you'd find people are putting on their houses on rural properties?
Yes.
So it's you get much more broader than just inside.
Oh.
Look, I remember Jan, when she was on council, we put one in, as the policy is for councils that live remotely. And hers is, it's not just in the house, it's the sheds, there's quite a significant radius around the, house.
Not what we've, again, it could be materials at the house, but no, when we put it down at the Visitor Information Centre, we could barely get outside. We put it in the building, we could barely get outside the building, and we put extensions on there to rebroadcast that into the seating area. So again, it depends what the building's made of. I wouldn't want to put stock in getting decent bar coverage more than say that 10. I mean, I'm sure they're probably in their spectrum rated more, but I wouldn't trust too much more. I'd probably say one would probably do a good chunk of the hall area there, but again, if they're trying to get a big area outside of it, I'd still probably consider, without having a floor plan or evaluation, I'd say I'd be planning to probably put a couple of units for getting complete coverage of the wall.
We've got one on the line too, and it does the shed and everything.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
It's inside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I was asking, like the tennis courts and the canteen part, like it was in the hall. I just in the report, $10 for this, $20 if we do this, you know what I mean?
Yeah. All right, I'll make
That's
sure.
just my thoughts, I mean.
I'll check again with the local supplier installer around that coverage, but I know just from our recent, it wasn't. I wouldn't put heart saying I could put it there and cover this much outside that facility.
It might be that the community, when you do consultation, they might want it more outside, so it's got less.
I was going to say, if it's because they can't get triple O down the road, at least they stand outside the hall there or around there, but if it's only in the hall and it's locked, it's not going to do any good, is it?
Well, they need public toilets, the trucks, they'll use the toilet.
Okay, well, I'm happy to move that Council 1 endorse up to $4,000 to install a booster or alternative solution for 4G. I think I'll just leave it at that. The Noongar, for the Noongar Community Hall and outside to support enhanced safety infrastructure.
and community well-being. 2, draw the required funds from Bendemeer Facilities Operations, work order 124 Halls and Community Centre Ops, Community Centre. 3, divert an existing mobile CCTV camera if communications are available to the site for a period of at least 3 months. CCTV solution has been installed to provide immediate coverage. 3, request a report in relation to the outcomes of the review and other aspects of damage, including keys, repairs, assistance required to restore the site. The criminal activity has. Yes.
I just realised we're talking about the mobile thing. That's one of our mobile ones.
Yeah.
There's going to be quite a considerable cost to do that, I just realised. Is there any way we can communicate or consult with the locals that might have a forklift? Well, otherwise we've got a car to forklift.
Just through the chair, we do have a mobile CCTV unit.
No, we haven't. So we've actually got a fixed solution put in place there.
Okay.
We have recently, as part of that engagement, we've actually purchased a trailer, which has like a forklift built into the back of the trailer, and then kind of back the trailer. It looked like a boat ramp, boat trailer.
I didn't know that.
We've only just received it in the last week or 2. We're just in the middle of having it registered under council name before we can use it. So we're just going through that. We've planned at the moment.
It's got a thing to lift them off with then.
Correct. Yeah, so it's just got a hydraulic lift it up, and then we.
I wasn't aware of that. I thought if we got a car forklift all the way down there to unload it and put it on site.
I would probably it'd just be interesting to see the area of coverage required for that facility, like because a big tower with a 360 view on it, we might even have a look at some options around like a smaller fixed. Like a single camera with solar panel. I know we can look at those types of kits as well at a bit better costing around that. So not having to transport this large, and these things can be just affixed to a post. We have had, essentially it's nearly much the same units that's at the entrance to the Surat and the Surat area here. And we've also had the Wallumbilla depot to cover the fuel barrels there as well. So some options there.
The only good thing about the tower is that it's broken into at least twice. People tend to come back making a statement of having a tower there. Short term could be a really good thing. But like I get it, yeah, you can do the same thing, fixed sort of asset.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about it. Yeah, I'd like to speak about this. Was notified that there's a break-in on the weekend at the Noongar Community Hall. Quite a lot of damage, but also the effect on the volunteers will be major because they even just took things that have really got no value, but like keys, so everything has to be re-keyed. It's just a major impact on the volunteers that provide a community service for council in that area through the Noongar community groups. And so this would be, I believe, received very well, and that, they, for councillors' benefit, they have actually asked for the booster in the past. So if we can do this in the CCTV, then that would be a great option to be able to make a statement that now Noongar is protected as a community group. Okay, Councillor Lavery.
I'd just like to see something happen as soon as possible because those halls, or that hall, Noongar Hall, it's out in the middle of nowhere, and probably no one's around it for a week or 2 at a time. So the sooner we get it done, the better.
Would anyone else wish to speak? Councillor McKnight.
Where it is a council facility, any costs could come back to us.
Okay, does anyone else wish to speak? I'll sum up. Yeah, it's certainly all that, it is a council building, but it's also listening to the people involved in, putting them on a big downer. I think this motion will go to protecting the community as soon as we can get it into place and support the volunteers. Okay, we'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 8-0. L5, notice of petroleum and gas application for petroleum pipe licence 2077. We have the one that, I've got a question.
So, just through the chair, just this information is an information report essentially to council. There is an action by the council, but again, significant development in the region should come to council's attention. But we did attach the information provided by the corporation to the report. We have seen something like publicly there is some pressure on information, but you do have that access to that physical information.
So one is, like, it looks like we've got a policy on it, but then
Look through the chair, I think there's slightly different. I was just the policy itself it's about the gas network.
it's a different thing.
This is a planning issue. This is a state planning issue. They've got an application duty as part of their licence to notify us in relation to development, which they have done. They've provided their licence, and it's really just that the council know what's happening in the region. It's not normally comes to the operations. If we have information to provide to them, say for argument's sake, if there was a reason why their alignment with their pipeline or any information that was in that application that we saw that might be problematic from our implementation point of view, that if us or them we would raise that with them. They have the entitled to do what they're doing. It's really information process, one-way information process as opposed to consultation, but they do have to notify us.
So, and I obviously get that they're connecting up to lines or something, but are we giving them access to anything from council point of view, or is it just information?
In relation to the access, it's obviously in relation to existing development, if it interacts with existing development, we would be not supporting that process. This is just the pipeline license, and where the pipeline goes actually impacts to local government areas, western bands.
So what I'm saying is, other times we've had an approval to put a pipeline across a council road or something. But if it's receive a note, we're not actually doing that. Council will know.
Mayor, I'm assuming this is already going to go along the original, there's already an existing corridor there. And I haven't read it right through, but it goes right from Compatible, crossing up to Spring Gully and connecting the already on a corridor approved easement, I suppose, is the word there. I'm only guessing, but that's what.
Well, but yeah, we've had problems in the past where we thought it was unintentional. It was wrong for vegetation.
But that, yeah, I understand that. It's another whole new project.
Through the chair, we can always ask a question of the applicant to say, is there any, could you please give us an indication that, specific information about to understand.
Based on another project within the town of Roma, not gas project, but to do with the state government, they've just said nothing to do with council, mind your business, so to speak, and they just try and put the bloody shit up that they've done.
So through the chair, it's simply, even though it's an information report, from an officer perspective, you said, it'd be nice to ask and say, is there any significant vegetation removal being applied as part of the application process? We can get that information back from them. And should we have any further issues, there's any consider maybe advocacy to the state government.
Well, I'd like to move that council receive and note the report and seek advice from council officers any impacts of this application that council should be aware of in regards to the Maranoa. meaning, unintended, like, the deputy director might know something about it. There might be none, then we don't hear it.
That's right. But I'm certainly aware of in the past there was significant vegetation.
And it could be other things too that indirectly is going to affect someone.
Sure.
Do we need to know about as councillors? But if there is nothing, then we will need to see it again. Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Edwards. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 8-0. That's it. Yes, Andy? Okay, so do we have anyone?
There's conflicts.
Conflicts? Let's do it. Councillor Ladd.
The item number is C1, description, application for funding for regional precincts and partnership program. Declaring council is myself, local person in interest, related party, close associate is my wife, myself, my wife, Alana Ladbrook. Particulars of interest, I'm a member of the Run Turf Club. And my wife is president of the Run Show Society. Both groups are used in Bassett Park. And Bassett Park precinct is mentioned in the report. Type of conflict is declarable conflict of interest, and the action I'll take is leave the room while the matter is being discussed and voted on. And conflict also with C2, description, Bassett Park Pavilion, adoption of the councillor, myself, Councillor Ladbrook. Person of interest and related party is my wife, myself and my wife, Alana Ladbrook. Particulars of interest, I'm a member of the Roman Turf Club, and my wife is president of the Roman Show Society. Both groups are users of Bassett Park and are named in the report. And the type of conflict is a declarable conflict of interest, and the action I take leave the room while the matter is being discussed.
Any other conflicts?
I've got.
Councillor Hancock.
I'd like to move a motion without notice for the confidential agenda.
Oh, yes. Yeah, please go ahead.
I'd like to move that we put a motion without notice, extension to building application. That it goes onto the agenda first. I've got it here. Building application lot 2, RP 219968. Onto the confidential agenda.
You say RP21?
RP 219968. 219968. 219968. Yeah. Read that one, please.
Okay. Do we have a seconder for that?
I'll second it, but just it's a notice without motion, and the motion is that the matter extension to building application lot 2 RP blah 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 be added to the agenda.
Are you happy with that, Councillor Hancock?
Yeah. Yes, it's tidying my words, which is great. Thank you.
Okay. Any opposition? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 8-0. Okay. Any other conflicts? Okay. We'll just adjourn for a minute. Right. So
We're in close now.
No, we just adjourned to say goodbye to the gallery. So we're back in the meeting. We voted on that. Is there any other conflicts? Okay, so does someone wish to move to go into close? Council.
I'll move that in accordance with the provisions of section 254J3 of the Local Government Regulation 2012, the council resolved to close the meeting to the public at 12:22 p.m. to discuss confidential items that its councillors consider is necessary to close the meeting. In accordance with section 254J5, the Local Government Regulation 2012, the following table provides the matters to be discussed and an overview of what is discussed while the meeting is closed. Agenda items. C1, application for funding under Regional Precincts and Partnership Program, RPP. C2, Bassett Park Pavilion adoption of concept. C3, tender 24004, supply and delivery of one articulated dump truck. C4, expression of interest, New Bond Street, Roma. C5, request for extension on payment arrangement 11003241. C6, CEO performance review. C7, Mullabilla and Yuba Sewer Systems feasibility study. C8, Scenario Plains Road, Totula Crossing. LC1, nuisance mitigation options. LC2, request for capital upgrade estimate extension of Quinton Street stormwater infrastructure. LC3, Roma Junior campus school drop off. And LC, what was the last one? 6. LC4, extension to building application lot 2 RP 219968.
Okay, we have a seconder. Councillor Taylor, opposition. Go to the vote. All those in favour? 8-0. We'll continue with the meeting. I'd like to move that there is an item without notice, which we will call
Lincoln's Road.
Langton's Road, Yulba, and that's probably enough.
Yeah, okay.
Lincoln Avenue to be exact.
Langton Avenue, Yulba. Now, put it on the agenda. Do we have a seconder? Councillor McMullen. Any opposition? All those in favour? 8-0.
Move we're going to close.
We have a seconder. Councillor McMullen. All those in favour? 8-0. Okay, so we're on close. C1. Application for funding under Regional Precincts.
We can do this, yeah. We done everything we want to do?
Yes.
Yeah, everyone's happy with it? Okay.
Yes.
Councillor O'Neill.
I'll move that Council 1 apply for funding under the Australian Government's Regional Precincts and Partnership Program for the following.
Doesn't
Oh yeah, Council.
we have a council that has a conflict on this one?
Yeah.
Sorry.
And the next one.
Yeah. Is it for this one?
One
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Sorry.
You go too far. No. I go to sleep.
All right, let's go ahead, Councillor O'Neill.
Start again. Let's wait. Thanks, Kel. I'll move that Council 1 apply for funding under the Australian Government's Regional Precincts and Partnerships Program for the following projects. A, Stream 1, Precinct Development and Planning, Regional Recreational and Green Space Development, including Lake Neverfield site. B, Stream 2, Precinct Delivery, Hobson Place Construction. 2, authorise the Chief Executive Officer or Delegate to sign funding agreement and any other necessary documentation if successful.
I'll second that.
I just want to, in A, the Regional Recreational Green Space Development, including Lake Neverfield site, and important green spaces in all of our regional communities, the regional towns. I just would hate to think people just think it is the Lake Neverfield site because we pointed that out. Does that capture the essence of what we talked about?
I sort of thought we did regional recreation and green space development and regional, didn't we?
Just being more specific on, yeah.
Well, green spaces, so they're obviously parks and
Yeah.
stuff.
Okay, I'm happy with that. Does the Mayor wish to speak to the motion?
Just very briefly, if successful, this will be a significant investment into our community, both for the planning side of things for Stream 1, but also for the bricks and mortar project that would come out of Stream 2, and I urge councillors to support the recommendation in front of you.
I'll speak to the motion. Certainly, A is about planning. Certainly believe there could be an amazing site out at Lake Neverfield. It's far more than water. If people love getting into the outdoors, that can be fantastic, as well as all our green spaces. And this is about planning, so getting something on a regional scale that can blow people's mind could be very exciting. And 2, Hobson's Place, I think it's an enormous need. I think it's Mitchell's time as a centre for the Breaker area, and certainly we'll be supporting this motion to see if we can get funding. Does anyone else wish to speak? Does the mover wish to sum up?
I need to say, incredibly important that we put in for projects like Hobson Place, but also the planning for the others. We're a small rate base. We need the support of the Commonwealth Government in this regard. And if we can get it 100% funded, then great for the likes of Mitchell, but great for the rate base as well, that we've been able to work with the Commonwealth Government to achieve this project. And, as I said earlier, I'm pleased to share this now. The first conversation I had with someone when I went to the Baringa Festival the other day was about when is council going to do the Hobson Place construction. And so if we can kick this along very quickly and get the support of the Commonwealth Government, I know the community of Mitchell will be very happy.
Okay, on that note, we'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 7-0. C2, Bassett Park Pavilion adoption of concept. Councillor
Mr
McMullen.
Mayor, I'd like to move that council adopt the concept design as presented for the Bassett Park Pavilion, which has been designed based on a staged construction approach to be approved, be provided funding options in a report to an upcoming council meeting.
We have a second at Councillor Guthrie. Any opposition? Opposition is moved. We can speak to the motion.
Just be able to speak briefly. I think this is a good step forward to this next proposed project, and I'm sure with some negotiations with some of the users, we can find some more funding.
I'll speak in opposition. Certainly support development out at Bassett Park, and I'm very glad in this budget that we've actually put $2 million to deal with our ageing infrastructure out of Bassett Park. But I do think this is an underwhelming development. I do believe that the costings are incredible compared to what I believe local business could do it for. And I would like to see us stretch to try and get something that is amazing and draw people from a distance, which I believe can be far more cost effective than what we're seeing. So I certainly won't be supporting this, and I look forward to in the future if other options perhaps could be considered by council. Does anyone else wish to speak for the motion? Councillor O'Neill,
I'll speak for it. I'm going to support this because this does advance what has been a long journey for Bassett Park, particularly with the Bassett Park Master Plan. I think it is offensive to say that the plan is underwhelming. There was extensive consultation done with the users of the Bassett Park facility a decade ago. Now, whilst I recognise that over that time there have been changes to committee members and organisations, there is still a real passion to see this particular project realised. And I am very pleased to see that we are advancing it as best as we can. And I'm pleased that the Deputy Mayor has added into the resolution that funding options be presented at an upcoming council meeting for us to further consider and be able to go back to relevant stakeholders out there to know that we are continuing to advance what would be a fantastic asset to Bassett Park and for the users of that facility.
Does anyone else wish to speak? Does the Meg wish to sum up?
I disagree with Councillor Nielsen. I think we've got to get the show on the road, and I'm sure, as I said earlier, if we start discussing with other users of this facility, we'll find ways of getting more funding.
Okay, Councillor Edwards, you have a question?
No, I'm just going to speak.
Oh,
sorry. Oh, right.
Yeah, Councillor.
No, I haven't got a question.
Summed up. Okay, so we'll go to the vote. All those in favour? All those against? That's 5-2 if I can call for a division. Okay, moving on. We can get Councillor Ladbroke back, that would be great. Okay, C3 tender 24004, supply and delivery of one articulated dump truck. I'd like to move that council defer the decision on this item until a future meeting.
I'll second that.
We have Councillor O'Neill seconds that. All those in favour? 8-0. Okay, C4, expressions of interest, Newbond Street, Roma. Do we have a mover? Councillor Taylor.
I'd like to move that council invite the interested party to attend an upcoming council briefing to provide further details of their proposal and business capability.
We have a seconder, Councillor Ladbroke. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? We're going to the vote. All those in favour? 8-0. C5, request for an extension of payment arrangement. I'd like to move that Council 1 approve the applicant's proposed payment amount of $140 per week for outstanding rates and charges pertaining to rate assessment 11003241. 2. Advise the ratepayer that if a payment is missed, this arrangement will be automatically cancelled and the debt recovery process will recommence. 3. Advise the ratepayer that Council has endeavoured to include the next 2 rate levies into the payment arrangement. However, the 24-25 budget has not yet been adopted and therefore this payment arrangement may need to be adjusted after 1st of July 2024. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Edwards. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour? Okay, that's 8-0. Sorry, we'll do the vote again. All those in favour? All those against? 7-1 if I call for a division. Okay, so moving on to C6, page 84. I'd like to move that this item lay on the table to the next meeting of council. All those in favour? 8-0. C7, Wallumbilla and Yulbar Sewerage Systems Feasibility Study. I'd like to move that this lay on the table until the next meeting of next
Future meeting was a request, Mr. Mayor.
we won't.
Future meeting was
Future.
I asked.
Right, that this lay on the table until a future meeting of council. All those in favour? 8-0. Righto, moving on to C8, Samari Plains Roads Cartella Crossing with Councillor Edwards.
I'd like to move
Number 3.
Sorry.
And maybe,
right.
maybe, do you want no consider or consider? Depends what you're doing.
Sorry, I'd like to move that council consider an allocation of $50,000 XGST and 2023-24 budget order 2 to progress the design, by concrete or timber for the Tartella Creek crossing on Samurai Plains Road.
Samari.
Sorry.
We have a seconder, councillor Ladbroke. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak?
Can I ask a question?
Please go ahead.
Consider it when?
When it comes to council, I would imagine. When is that?
2023-24.
So through the chair, just for,
Oh, I beg your pardon.
Yeah.
It's right.
it's in the 23-24 budget, so this will come to council in the January 24.
All right.
So through
So
the
when
chair,
does
if council,
GT come?
31st of December, and so that this would normally come to you in January, your January meeting. If you, you can make the allocation directly, or you can do it as another.
We can still do it in the last
You still
meeting in
got-
January.
So, if it's, not a substantial, they don't, we can't award tenders in caretaker, but
That's right, some of them.
yeah.
Righto. So does the mover wish to speak to the motion?
No.
Okay, I'll speak to the motion. I think we've got a chance of solving something that was a long-term, perhaps not the finest moment when it comes to how we do things. So I look forward to getting some prices back with a couple of different options, and it might surprise us, perhaps, the affordability of different options. So I look forward to considering this moving forward. Fix a long-term problem for some local residents. Okay, does anyone else wish to speak? We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour? 8-0. Moving on to the late agenda. LC1 nuisance mitigation options. Do we have a mover? Councillor McMahon.
Mr Mayor, I'll move that council resolves to cease further investigations and action, finalise its assessment of the complaints and advise the complainants of its decision.
We have a second, Councillor Ladbroke. Does the mover wish to speak to the motion?
No, Mr Mayor.
I'll speak in opposition. I certainly agree with ceasing investigations, because we have done a lot of work and have not been able to find, even through independent support, we have not been able to solve the issues. But one thing that I would like to see, and I think will be for the next council, is we need to find a way of to have, large barriers where we've got problems that have been caused historically for light industrial land butting up against, that's now turned into industrial land against residential areas. And I do think that the only concrete approach that we could do is actually to put, significant high fencing that's a sound barrier, and I think that just needs to sort it out once and for all. And yes, it will come at a cost, but if we do it over time and plan it and work how to do it more cost effectively, that's the one thing that I believe the council should be doing. It won't necessarily solve what some of the residents' issues are complaints are about, but it could definitely improve the livability of the residents that might encounter these problems in the future because of historical problems. Does anyone else wish to speak? Does the mover wish to sum up?
No.
We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? All those against? 6-2 if I can call for division. Okay, moving on. LC2 request for capital upgrade estimate extension of Quinton Street stormwater infrastructure. Council,
Mr Mayor, I'll move the council receive and note the report and cost estimate and timeline to upgrade the underground water infrastructure along Quinton Street. 2, approve and allocate funds from the constrained infrastructure charges contributions to progress the design of the project. 3, nominate the project for funding under the Queensland Government's Queensland Resilience and Risk Reduction Fund, QRRF, and if the application is unsuccessful, fund the construction of the project from the constrained infrastructure charges contributions, subject to transport and main roads approval. 4, continue to progress pre-construction activity and approvals and consider funding for construction of the project as part of the Quarter 2 review. 5, investigate a temporary solution for the stormwater. At the end of it, Lincoln?
Chair, you might want to approve number 5 until the new construction is complete.
Sorry? Investigate a temporary solution for the stormwater until the new construction is complete.
Okay, do we have a seconder? I won't get you to second it, Deputy Director. Would you have something to add?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. I just think block point number 4 has become redundant.
Oh, okay.
Just how you've sort of got the supplementary funding if unsuccessful.
Happy to remove that document 4 that I read out there.
Okay, do we have a seconder? Councillor Taylor, any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour? 8-0. Righto, moving on to LC3, Roma Junior Campus School Drop-Off. I would like to move that Council 1 does not approve the project. 2, provide correspondence to the department outlining that a letter of support will not be provided based on the following points. Safety concerns by removing pedestrian crossing on the Warrego Highway. And the second point, loss of car parks along a high order local government controlled road, Hawthorne Street. Concerns with proposed solution treatment being suitable for the age group of school children. And lack of, and the next point is lack of broader community and other key stakeholder consultation on the proposed project. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Ladbrook, any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak to this? I'll speak to it. I'm extremely concerned, and I think this is probably the most concerning thing I've seen, and I certainly will not be supporting it in any way. Does anyone else wish to speak? We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour? 8-0. Another two items. Okay, LC4, extension to building application lot 2 on RP2 19968. Councillor Hancock.
I move that Council 1 acknowledge receipt of the request. 2, waive the application fee for submission of an extension application, provided the extension application is submitted to Council prior to 31st October 2023. 3, write to the applicant confirming Council's process.
We have a second. I'll second that. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour? 8-0. Then we had another item. LC5, Langton Avenue, Ulbar. I'd like to move that Council 1 seek legal advice outlining the risk and responsibilities of Langton Avenue, Ulbar, and provide this information to the owner. 2, revisit its negotiations with the owner on Lot 1 on Y2212 with the intention of rectifying the Langton Avenue land tenure. 3, offer the property owner a 10% increase on the value recommended value as report dated 16th of June 2017. 4, undertake to pay all costs associated with registering required plans and associated transfers and contracts. 5, authorise the Chief Executive Officer or delegate to sign all documentation associated with this proposed acquisition. 6, allocate necessary funds from the W244 8-9 to effect the purchase and be provided with the final report as part of the first quarter budget review. We have a seconder, Councillor McMullen. Does anyone wish to speak?
Yeah, through the chair, it's just minute taker, if we could just do works W/O work order. Just begin. Yeah, sorry.
W/O work order 2489.
Yes.
Okay, no one wishes to speak, then we're going to the vote. All those in favour? 8-0. Is there any further business, councillors? Okay, I'll close the meeting at 5:38 p.m. Thank you for your attendance.